Welcome to God Answers Prayer. I'm Linda Tiano, and we want to welcome you to hear another testimony about how God is answering prayers today. We want to go to Proverbs chapter 4, verses 20 through 23. And it says, "Listen carefully, my dear child, to everything that I teach you, and pay attention to all that I have to say. Fill your thoughts with my words until they penetrate deep into your spirit. Then as you unwrap my words, they will impart true life and radiant health into the very core of your being. So above all, guard the affections of your heart, for they affect all that you are. Pay attention to the welfare of your innermost being. From there flows the wellspring of life. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is continually teaching us his ways. If we will have ears to hear, we want to be open to the leading of the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, who will teach us quite often. And quite often we are led to someone who has walked this path and in the process found knowledge to help others. Today we are joined by June Baker of Wellness Destiny Healing Center. May we all have open hearts to hear what the Ruach is saying in this hour. We'll be right back after this. Well, welcome back. I'm here with June Baker. And June, it's good to have you with us.
It's good to be
It's
here.
been a while, and I know that God has been answering prayers in your life in so many ways, but one of the ways that he started answering some prayers was with wellness, correct?
Yes.
And
yes.
so you started a business that you're able to help other people. And, you know, I want to say to our audience, you know, sometimes we kind of push back on things that we don't understand, not realizing that these are gifts that God has given to us. If we will walk in those, more and more people, June, are looking for natural solutions.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
So tell us a little bit about the types of the healing modalities that you offer there at the center.
We offer, of course, prayer, of course, and the place they walk into has already been saturated with the presence of God because we're using holy fire as the place for them to, you know, to receive
And
their
holy
healing.
fire is the congregation?
Yep.
Okay.
And so the different things that we offer, of course, one of them is looking at them thermographically, and it's a test that has been run and has been successful used in a cardiovascular area. So it's very popular, it's non-invasive, and so now I have the capability of using it as well, and I can use it on my phone. So I can use it remotely, it can be sent to anywhere in the world, as long as you have a phone. And then people just look into the camera lens, and it looks at the way your blood is flowing. It also looks to see how your heart rate is.
Wow.
It does everything within just a few minutes. So it's really been amazing for us to be able to use it. I've always used what's called a hand cradle before. And so now people don't necessarily always have to come and see me, because I know people sometimes want to come from Albuquerque and it may be a challenge for them. So they can just let me know they want to do it, and we can do it remotely.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's one way. Then for those that are benefiting by coming in, you know, we do also run that test when they first walk in. And then we'll also do detox, which is ionic, it's grounding. And that just helps you to just get your body just where it needs to be. It's kind of like walking on the beach, where people always say, I felt wonderful, I was just on vacation, and I feel good because I was walking on the beach. And part of it is because the most perfect frequency you have is the earth. And so when you take your shoes off and you just put your feet in the sand, even at home, you know, that's grounding. So this grounds them, and it's also detoxing them at the same time.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is.
So, so it's not like the water bath type thing where, is it? Okay, where it pulls it from from your feet?
Yeah, look, pulls from your feet. So each foot has over 2,000 pores. So that's why we use your feet. I mean, you could use your hands, other parts of your body, but it's probably best if you use your feet.
Right.
And it's about 30 minutes to 35 minutes, depending on what that person needs. And then the colors change. Doesn't mean it's diagnosing you by any means, but what it's doing is it's actually looking at where it's at. And it will look like it matches up with the thermographic test. Sometimes it may say, well, it's really water looks really green, which is maybe pointing more to the gallbladder area. And it'll also have pulled that up on the thermographic test. So it just confirms it. And then we have a reflexologist who works on the feet mostly. She does feet, hands, and face, but most people come in just for their feet, and that is also reflects every organ of the body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about the other day, I was massaging my feet, and I hit one point, and it was like, I was like, okay, let me figure out which one that one is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, God has created us so complex, you know, but if we can learn, then we can have the ability to have wholeness in our body.
Yeah.
So, well, so tell me, what does emotional stress have to do with physical issues?
Well, I'll give you an example. I once visited with a woman out of town. I went out there and we were still doing the hand cradle thing, right? And she was a little bit late, and I was wondering why she was late, but when she came in, she goes, sorry, I was at a funeral. This is a woman that is a marathon runner. She does everything physically correct. She eats properly. But when I tested her, it said heart. And it was because her friend had just passed away, and so it had brought an emotional reaction to her heart.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was not physical, but it was emotional. So a lot of times you'll have people with just different issues that are coming up. My stomach hurts, my shoulders hurt, you know, I'm shaking, but I don't know why. And it could be an adrenal issue, it could be just muscle stress, but most of the time it has to do with something emotional. So that's where we're able to go in and suggest some things that might be beneficial, like flower remedies, essential oils, a supplement, something like that. Pray for them, hold them.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing how things like that work, because then you can allow the Holy Spirit to really bring discernment and wisdom into the situation, because you have tools.
Yes.
But the best thing of all is His presence, and the love that you know, that comes from being in that place. I mean, love is
That's the answer.
the completeness of everything.
Yes.
Now, I know, what about balancing sugar intake, you know, carb balancing and protein, and how does all of that work?
Well, interestingly enough, when people come in to see me, I'll say, if there's anything you could change in your health, what would it be? And the first answer is usually lose weight, right? I don't like this anymore, or I've gained weight, or, you know, ever since I went through menopause or had children, I've gained weight. So what I do is I have a program that works directly with that. So we balance blood sugar by eating properly, like small portions throughout the day, making sure that they're eating plenty of greens, and just really taking care of what goes into their body, drinking water, movement, that type of thing.
Wow. So what is skinny? What is a
Skinny fat? That's an interesting one, because some people can come in and they're just really, really thin, but they're skinny fat. So their blood is different. So the blood is thicker, and so a lot of them will have high cholesterol, even though they're very, very thin. So that has to be dressed a different way. You know, it's not going to be like they would with somebody that's, you know, nice and trim and thin and healthy, but this person has skinny fat. So that's what they call it. It's called skinny fat, because you have fat in your blood.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's genetic. It's hereditary.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then I know in the past you talked about the iridology. Explain that to the viewers that may not have heard it before.
Okay. Iridology is really interesting also because it's looking at the eye.
Okay.
So remember, if you remember, we talked about how the right eye reflects the genetics of the father, the left eye reflects the mother. So depending on what color of eye you have different predispositions to things. Like if it's a blue-eyed person, there's usually a lot of congestion. They're prone to having allergies all the time, and they have to just change their diet. So I'm able to work with them that way. Every organ of the body is also reflected in the iris. So then we can look at that. In the white of the eye, which is called the sclera, that one represents generations. So it can go back as far as 4 generations, and it can point to a modality or something that has occurred in maybe 3 or 4 generations back. And if it's pointing in that direction, let's say if it's a heart issue, if it's pointing in there, then we know, let's look at that and let's begin to work with that part to help bring healing into your body before you get there. So it's past, present, and future.
Yeah. And we talked about the ionic detox. I know that you do flower remedies and things. Tell us about that.
One of my favorite things to do. The flower remedies are interesting. If a flower is pointing up, it usually is uplifting. If a flower is pointing down, then it's usually for a night, it's called more like a nightshade type thing. But then it's maybe would be used for somebody that is having trouble sleeping, that might be a good connection for them. The flower remedies, I believe that everything that the Lord has created has it has a destination and a purpose. So when I work with flower remedies, whether somebody comes in with maybe they're feeling really down and depressed, or they've gone through a difficult situation, what's interesting with the flower remedy, it's like a rose or a petal, and what it does is it pulls back gently the layers, and it helps to release that emotion and bring that person into a balance that they've been really desiring to do. Some people, like you said, do not always want to go the medically way, but they want to try something a little bit more natural. This does not interfere with medicine, does not interfere with anything. It doesn't even have a fragrance. It's just a frequency. It's just a frequency that the body is missing. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time and may not work immediately. Some people immediate, and some others do not.
You know, I think since the last time you were here, I think people have become even more aware of frequencies. Yes. I mean, we've got the 5G, we've got all the things that can affect us in a negative way, but there are healing frequencies.
Yes. So healing frequencies can be found in a lot of different ways. You can find them through worship music. You can find them through prayer. You can find them through somebody just laying hands on you. You can find them through flower remedies, so essential oils, through somebody just talking to you and just expressing, just listening is a frequency. You know, just expressing love to them. There's just so many different types of frequencies. Empty frequencies would be like if you ate something that has no benefit whatsoever. It has 0 frequencies, does not benefit you whatsoever. But if you eat something that's organic and naturally grown, then there's a higher frequency. So sometimes our frequencies are too low within our own being, and so when you add those things in there, then it raises them up, and all of a sudden you have energy and you feel better and you're happy, and you know, all the things that you've wanted to have. But it could be diet related.
So do you find that you've got people coming in after what we've been through in this country in the last few years, coming in, they're really loaded down on so many levels with things that have just kind of pushed them down? And I mean, it's a spiritual thing, definitely, but it has affected their bodies.
Yes. We do have people that'll walk in with, you know, with those types of things going on, so you know that you're dealing with something more on an emotional level. Some people are just like so stressed out that they're shaking all the time, and that's where reflexology can come in as well, because sometimes you're over-firing. It's called over-firing. And so when they're receiving that treatment, it helps calm it down and bring them into a better space. They feel better when they walk out. They're more relaxed. Anybody that walks in there, I've always heard them say they feel better. I feel safe here. I feel good.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I feel comforted. I feel loved. I feel important. And sometimes it's just somebody just listening to them and caring about what they have to say.
Right.
But yeah, we're living in some very difficult times.
Well, I know we're going to talk more about frequencies here probably in a moment, but you are available to go and speak
Sure.
to groups, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh. I am willing to do that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I've done a few in Albuquerque, to small women's groups. We've done that. That's been really, really, it's a blessing to me to be able to share with them what I've been blessed to know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, wonderful. Well, we're going to go for a short message here, but I want to remind you, number one, thank you for being, for partnering with us financially and with your prayers. If you're out there and you are in need of prayer, we have got a wonderful team of prayer people that love to pray. So please give us a call. The number's right there on the bottom of the screen. We'll be right back after this. Well, we're back with June Baker. And June, I just asked you that question on the break about what about tinnitus? Are you getting a lot more people maybe than you have in the past?
We are. And so it can be a little bit tricky, and some of them are going in and seeing someone. They say they have to motion their heads in a certain position. They're having to do certain things. Sometimes we find that there might be fluid in the ear, which we can use some solutions that we have for that are beneficial and help them to get a little bit more clarity. Some people have the ringing in the ear that just won't go away. So we recommend sometimes white noise, even because they can't sleep.
Right.
Because they'll hear that ringing in their ear all night long. So just, we just address it differently. It just depends on what's happening. And then, of course, running that great test. That's really helpful, because it could be that there's pressure coming from blood pressure. It could be something else. It could be sinuses related. And so sometimes we address that. That's helpful.
So, what do you do as far as introducing worship music and the frequencies of that?
Well, we usually have music playing all the time. So when they walk in, they'll say, "Oh, I've heard that before. I've never heard that before." And of course, we're listening to a lot of Joshua Aaron right now.
Yeah.
So we're just listening to it over and over and over again. And you know that there is such a blessing and such an anointing on the music already, that while it's being played, whether that person is a believer or a non-believer, they're still receiving.
Right.
They're still receiving. They don't know why they like it. They don't know why they're feeling better. They don't know what's happening, but we know that they have been moved into that place, or they've been exposed into that environment of worship. It's so powerful that we just miss that.
Yeah.
Every letter in the Jewish alphabet, of course, has a frequency,
Right.
has a sound, has a fragrance, has a meaning.
Yes.
So yeah. There's
the
so much to
the God
this,
of
yeah.
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob just is so. There's so many complexities. But maybe complexity is not the right word. But when you consider the layers of understanding that are there for us to explore and to find out more about. So what about organs holding emotion within us?
They do as well. Like, for instance, the woman that I was talking about earlier, where it showed her heart, we knew that there was something happening there. When people come in and it shows lungs, usually there's a loss. And it resonates, or it starts to settle right into the lung area. If there's a kidney issue, it could be fear, a tremendous fear. So we can address that with flower remedies or essential oils, or just sitting together and just talking and praying about it. Just every organ does something different. The
Right.
liver is hot. So if someone comes in and they have like hot flashes, we know that their body is overheated, and we know how to deal with that because it's the liver. It's the liver talking. So it's Chinese medicine does look at things differently. They do look at it and they say, that the liver, the liver is an organ of harmony. So it's kind of like listening to an orchestra and you hear something's off over there,
Right,
out of tune, and you know that's out of tune. So your whole body's out of tune as the liver isn't functioning the way it should.
Wow.
So the liver is real important.
So the other night I was awake thinking about something, like we tend to do at night. And I was like, Lord, I know this is not my problem. And it was kind of an issue with feeling like you were backed up. And it was like he spoke to me and he said, you need to let it go. What all this stuff you're thinking about, let it go. That will take care of it. And I was like, oh, okay. And, but I mean, it's like he's so good. And there's so many remedies out there. What about the shofar? What role does that play?
Well, I don't know if you remember. Did you remember Rabbi Rivas? He was from Socorro.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
When he would come visit us, and he did that every week, which was amazing. And he'd come, and whenever he needed to, somebody would come and say, I need prayer or whatever, blowing the shofar right in here is one of the most perfect frequencies, if not the most perfect frequency. So when you blow that in there, it's also said it's the voice of God speaking. So it's so powerful to do that, and we'll do that often at Holy Fire, where if somebody needs something or they're just really struggling, we'll gather around and pray for them and then blow the shofar to bring that alignment back in, because there's probably some kind of a bend going on within them or something that's causing them not to be able to be free. And when we do that, we see such miraculous things happening with that. It's amazing.
So it raises the frequency.
Raises the frequency.
Wow.
And clears a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's really like, when they blow the shofar at different times, at different feast days, and the blowing the shofar, it's either a call to war, a call to gather, a call to worship. And this is the Lord just blowing into you because he loves you so much, and he wants you to release all that to him, and the voice of God spoken through that shofar.
So there are healing prayer frequencies.
There's a pastor that I heard a long, long time ago, and Dutch Sheets. Have you ever heard of him? And he talked about how they could actually record a prayer that maybe your great-great-grandmother prayed, and that is still resonating in the heavens. Isn't that powerful?
Oh, that's wonderful.
So we can actually join our prayers to those prayers and just multiply and increase the power of that. And when I heard that, I thought, oh my God, my mother was a praying woman. She prayed all the time. And so I remember when she was passing away, we'd find her at the foot of my older son's bed. And my dad used to have to go pick her up and bring her back. And she was kneeling down praying for him. She couldn't hardly move anymore, but that's where we found her, praying. So we know that those prayers are still resonating and still important and still valuable to the Father.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope that those of you viewing today are hearing that, the power of prayer. As you were sharing, I'm thinking about not only my mother, but my grandmothers, my aunties, that all prayed for me when I walked away, and never said a word to me, but I could feel it.
Yes.
And when I came back, I was like, okay, that was it.
Yeah.
And to think then that those generations, they're in our blood.
Yes.
They're in every part of our being.
Yes.
And even within our own children. So be encouraged that those prayers will continue.
Still live on. They still live on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful.
Yes.
So you will do like conferences or something? Is that right?
I've never done a conference, but I probably can.
Okay. Well,
Let's do that for.
Hear that one today.
Yeah, available to be part of that. Or we have done some. Like we did a really beautiful one called "The Fragrance of God," and it says in the Word, that to some it's a stench, and to others it is just beautiful, And so we called it the Fragrance of God, and it was a beautiful conference that we held, and I did help with that. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today. This has been really eye-opening, I'm sure for a lot of you especially, but listen to it and just say, Holy Spirit, I want to have an open mind and an open heart. Thank you for being a part of our ministry. being a part of our family here. We love you, and may the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you His everlasting peace. Shalom, shalom.